So, good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are. I'm so happy to be here. And this moment is dedicated to the presentation of this book, The Economy of Francesco, un glossario per riparare il linguaggio dell'economia civile. So, a lexicon or a vocabulary or a glossary to repair the language of the economy language. I would say just one word about this title that is beautiful, also in Italian. And I want to just say one thing about this word, repair. In Latin, this prefix, re, it's an interesting prefix because usually is intended like again, so again something. But sometimes you can translate this re also with to fight for something. For example, in the Italian word or in English word, refute, or it is useful also for fight against something. So it's interesting because repair Latin for set table, for example, or to reset something. And so, what do we want to do with this word in economy? So we want to reset something. We want to fight against something. Or what do you think, Stefano, about that?
Okay, thanks, Emanuele. And yes, repair is in fact one of the key concepts of this whole glossary. So a glossary, as we all know, is a special book which contains a selection of terms and concepts that are connected to a certain fields of study or area of knowledge. There are 33 concepts within this book, but there's one which is connected to all of them, repair. Well, as you said, it's an interesting, very Franciscan verb. Not only because, as we all know, it's part of the famous passage of the biography of Francis, where while he's in San Damiano, he hear the voice of God saying to him, Francesco, go and repair my home. As you see, is in ruins. And the idea of repair was revolutionary at that time, not only because, in fact, it started rebuilding materially that little church, but also it changed the vision of church, the capital C in this sense, the community. The idea of repairing is very productive because when you want to repair something, and we've got a lot of people repairing economy with us, repairing is not throwing away. So it's ecological in a sense because you fix something. You don't start something from scratch. It's somehow easier and more productive. We have got problems today in the way we experience world and we experience economy, but we cannot just start from scratch. We live in a world with some issues and stuff, so to provide different definitions to the key concepts that we are included in this glossary, we aim at reaching a different way of thinking of economics and doing economy in a very practical level. So the question is, does the concept of repair work 800 years after Francesco heard this? Yes, we guess so, and that's the challenge of our wonderful book.
Thank you, Stefano. And yeah, when I was speaking about repair in that other sense, I was thinking also to an important question. So when we have a new form of economy, or when we want to fix the economy language and the economy in general, and we want to, in the case of Francis, it's clear. We have to defend. We have to fight for, or also for someone. For example, for for poor, for example. We have to, and in this book, we also rethink economy, starting from in several points, starting from the poor, starting from who is the last in this society. So, what does it mean to fight for that?
Well,
Opinion.
if I may, basically, well, the glossary is of course connected with the idea of repairing, right? But in the same time, something that aims at being inclusive. And this means that reframing a bit the concepts that are behind economics, and in the same time, start to think about the fact that, markets should be beneficial to everyone. While today, of course, you have these inequalities and a lot of problems. And of course, we came to an idea where capitalism or economy should be the same everywhere. But there's no way to do that. I mean, you have to respect local communities. You have to respect the needs of people.
I read several words in this book. So how did you choose this word? Because
Well-
for example, fraternity,
Yeah.
agape, or reciprocity.
The idea was to, of course, start from some economic words that are pretty much common to everyone, but at the same time try to get on board what are other traditions like the Christian ones, but also other concepts that comes from other continents. Till now, you have a white economy, we may say, and the idea is to bring everyone on the table to debate and discuss about this and enrich the concepts you may find. Stefan, I think you may add something.
Well, I just want to say that concepts are not just simply words. I mean, through concepts, we see the world. Concepts are in constant change, in constant transformation. So we are trying here to provide some possible definitions or redefinitions, which are, of course, temporary, because there are some challenges and urgencies that we need to respond to, not only as citizen of the world, but also as a young generation, because that there's a world, there's many years in our lives in front of us, and yes, we were born in a certain economic condition, and in a certain time in history, we need to face these challenges. How? Let's try to work on them. The idea of working on language is not just blah blah blah, as Greta Thunberg reminded, but it's just conceptual tools here. Just because the production scholarship,
language shapes reality, and it means that working on languages, you may be able to shape realities then, or to at least to try to construct new kind of framework, in which there is place for everyone.
Yeah, and it's also true the contrary. So the reality change sometimes the languages. So I think with this book we want to, as I, as I understood this book, it means it seems that you and the Economy of Francesco project wants to introduce new words, habits. For example, vocation.
Yeah.
Why vocation in a
Well, work has always been a big part of our life, right? And nowadays it changed a lot. Sometimes you spend your life working without even enjoying. Paying attention to vocation means one of us can bring something to the table, and that should be respected because it changes a lot the way you work, the way you approach your reality, the way you approach people.
usually when we have to understand the richness of a country, we don't take into account of this concept. So it seems really important to take into account
Yeah.
that word. And Stefano, do you want to speak about another? Which word do you write?
Well, first of all, let me say that it was very hard to summarize all the discussion which have developed in the past 3 years, because When this wonderful project started, it was a few years ago, 2019. As we said this morning during the wonderful opening ceremony, people underlined that we in fact worked a lot, even though we were working digitally. These concepts and these words comes from these conversations. So we try to find, it could have been like a 600 pages or even more book, but we need to stay within the limits of that publishing house asks us to respect. But and it was also very hard to understand which people could provide a perspective on them. We did not only include economists in a strict sense. There are different perspectives. We've got philosophers, we've got psychologists, because the idea of economy here is pluralistic, inclusive, and ethics. But we need different eyes, right, to solve problems. There's not only one perspective. And when it comes to vocation, as you said before, there are so many ways to approach that concept. As Valentino Rotondi wrote in a book, vocation regards many aspects of one's life. There's vocation to family, to work, to job. So we are not only one person. We are physically one person, one body, but we are
multiple identities, right?
Multiple identities. We are fathers, we are sisters, we are brothers, we are mothers, and we are all in this together with our differences. So I think that in the book, people will find these short essays, which are written in the way of a short academic essay. We need to say that because there are notes, so people will finally find grounded work, also to better explain to people who are not familiar to the Economy of Francesco what Economy of Francesco is, because that's also the problem. You cannot define Economy of Francesco with one simple definition.
Exactly.
No, isn't it? So
that's the good things of it, the beauty of it.
So thanks to Plinio and Stefano.
It's a pleasure
for this little dialogue. They are the editors of the book, so they are like the director of
the collectors.
Project.
I would say collectors, right?
Okay.
Organizers and collectors.
But we have here also the authors.
Yeah.
And
I leave space to the authors.
Yeah,
right?
and we just. So we would like to put a few questions to the author of the volume. To do so, we are here with Gloria, Mariana, and Diane. Maybe we can start with Gloria. So, okay, perfect. So, Gloria in Mumbai is a PhD student in economics and management at Sofia University Institute. She is also a member of the Economy of Francesco Academy. In her research, she is mainly interested in entrepreneurship, in particular how to support small and medium-sized enterprises. And so you wrote that word, imprenditorialità. Yeah. And Gloria is also a friend. I can say that. And so, what is imprenditorialità in the light of Economy of Francesco?
So for me, as we said, if we want really to change the economy, right now the main actor are the entrepreneurs. So in the economical can I say right now we see more and more entrepreneurs become richer and richer, but the rest of the world is becoming more poor. So for us in the Economy of Francesco, it was really important also to think what should do an entrepreneur nowadays if we want really to challenge the inequalities and to do more. So for us, entrepreneurship is a way of searching, like to use your talent to make a profit, of course, but profit for who? It's not a profit for you, but it's a profit for sharing, but it's not philanthropy. And what is the difference? Because you when you are in philanthropy, you have your business apart and your activities after. But in the economy of Francisco, we think that the process is more important. So how you treat your employees, you cannot treat your employees. You cannot like treat them the way nowadays it is, and after share the profit. So for us, the process is even more important than just share the profit. So, and as the Pope Francis say, an entrepreneur is a vocation. So you are not just doing business just to do business. Is like responding to a call because you see a need in the society. And nowadays, even the climate is calling, and there are more and more entrepreneurs that are paying attention how to do the business and in all the process. I don't if I unfortunately just for now in Italian there is the part of entrepreneurship. So there is the definition of the entrepreneur as the person, and after how the enterprise should be. So the climate is important, how you treat your employees, and after.
Thank you, Gloria. It was really interesting what you said. And I was thinking in this moment on the problem of the question. And I was thinking that Mariana wrote the word risorsa, so research, resource. And my question for you is the question of the Pope. The Pope, in particular, at the Young Scholars Initiative plenary, asked for this occasion if the origin of the world economy refers to the administration of house of goods. One may ask, who today administers the goods of our common home? What bond unites those who administer those assets and those assets are administrated?
Yes, and I used this question of Pope Francis that was made in 2020 in a plenary of association that I am part of, that it's Young Scholars Initiative. And also we brought this question to the Economy of Francesco, and we made a lot of discussions inside. So what I can say, and what I wrote also in the book, first we should look at the economy theory with critical eyes. First, because when you think about resources, a traditional economist or a mainstream economist will think in the definition of the economy. That is the trade of goods and services, and that are mediated by prices. So the economists nowadays, since a while actually, this neoclassical movement have reduced the economy to this one phrase. So what we see in what Economy of Francesco is critic and Pope Francis bring in this is what are the responsibility of the economists on the resources of the common house. So I started criticizing this idea of the utilitarian mode of looking at the economy as people that are only buying and selling goods and services. The Economy of Francesco brings this idea that we have to understand the economy in a holistic way. So the resources are much more than the resources that have a price, that have an immediate price. Also, a critic that I bring in the book is that many very important resources for our common house, for our common home, as ecosystem resources, as cultural resources, social resources, are not valued because they don't have an immediate price, or they are undervalued by the economy, the traditional economy. So to build a new economy, we have to consider these valuable resources that are not in the market as the actual the current capitalism system consider now what has a price, immediate price. So we have to take in and put these resources on the stage of our understanding of the economy. And another aspect that I think that is very important that Pope Francis also bring in this question is what economists should do, because we have an economy nowadays. We are serving the economy and not the economy serving people. So also, I think that is very important to break this paradigm of we have to serve the economy. But as Pope Francis says, the economy must serve the humanity. So as economists, I think that here we, all the economy, EOF Academy and all the participants, we are in this process of trying to change the curriculum, trying to change the paradigm, the way that the economists and the new generations of economists will build, will think and build a new economy.
Thank you, Mariana. I didn't present you, so
No problem.
Mariana is PhD economics at the State University of Campinas, and she has experience in industrial economics and innovation. Thanks for what you said. I think it's really important, this relation between economics and persons, and it's important also for the relationship between economics and politics. So we heard this morning how much is important to repair this relationship. So, and we are here also with Diane. Diane is a professionist of public policies with expertise in social protection and disability emancipation and human rights and integration of gender dimension. And she worked in several organizations like United Nations and the cabinet of the vice president of the vice president of Indonesia. So thank you to be here. And you write on the word inclusivity. So what is the relation between inclusivity and the economy of Francesco?
Okay, thank you for having me here.
How is it related?
Oh, okay, thank you for having me here. Buongiorno, everyone. Assalamualaikum. It is an Islamic greeting, meaning peace be upon you. So every time a Muslim greets someone, that person should encourage, convey, and promote peaceful messages, just like the economy of Francesco has been doing for the last 3 years. So it is such an honor for me to be here to talk briefly about my chapter, namely inclusivity. So this chapter highlights about the issues which are quite sensitive to discuss, especially in today's world, where there are increasing incidents of populism and hate speech in many countries, including Europe and Asia. My chapter talks about the importance of unity and diversity, and I personally wish that more people will be more open and outspoken about minority representation and interracial and interfaith encounters. I think the economy of Francesco is the ultimate example par excellence for inclusivity, where various faiths, races, and backgrounds are included to develop a civil economy which will leave no one behind. Also, we need to develop more empathy towards others who are different and underprivileged, especially immigrants and poor communities. And last but not least, in Indonesia, we also recognize officially 5 different religions and live together peacefully among hundreds of different ethnicities. under these principles called Pancasila principles. So I wish I could bring these messages of tolerance and inclusivity from Indonesia to Assisi and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. And I just want to say just one word that this book inspired me in his introduction, because to conclude this moment together, I would like to take up an image proposed by Stefano Zamagni in his introduction. So Stefano Zamagni make the introduction of the book, and he says that the words that make up in this volume are like the pearls of a single precious necklace. And indeed, they do. We have in our hands, so I think, a precious book. I read only some concept, but it's really precious. And in some respects, it's also fragile, just like a pearl necklace. So, my wish, therefore, goes out to this book and its authors, so they live and deepen the profound sense of this fragility and vulnerability. So vulnerability is a key concept, another key concept. Perhaps in this vulnerability, it will be possible to discover not only the beauty of pearls, but also the patient and maybe perceiving straight of a chain. So we can read this book as a chain or as a necklace. So thank you for your attention and for you to be here. Thank you.